Today, I'm going to be telling you about the time I pretended to be deaf. For real. Sometimes when I'm working with my clients, they struggle to believe the extent of my social anxiety when I was younger. I know how I can come across, when I do these videos or I coach people, I come across as assertive and so on. And it can be really hard to believe that once upon a time I was crippled with social anxiety. But I really was. And the other day, a story popped into my mind, which really demonstrates this. When I was going to university, I used to take this bus and it went through kind of the rough part of town. It would pick up vagrants of all kinds. And this one time I was sitting in the back and I had the seat to myself, my preferred position. And this couple got on and they were clearly really drunk and obnoxious, not aggressive necessarily, but they just reeked of alcohol and they're kind of talking really loud and trying to start conversations with everyone. Everyone on the bus was super uncomfortable. And they came and sat like right next to me, like either side of me, if I remember correctly, or very close to me either way, which pretty much gave me a panic attack. This is like my least favorite situation to be in. And of course, to my horror, they started talking to me. You've got to understand the context or the background to this, which is I had spent a lifetime up until that point. I'm in my early 20s. This happened when I was about 23 or something. I'd spent many, many years learning how to react very quickly to uncomfortable social situations with a performance of some kind, with a fake display in order to kind of win or avoid disapproval and that sort of thing. And the thing I was most afraid of was confrontation or confrontational situations, very emotionally uncomfortable conflicts. And two drunk, potentially aggressive, obnoxious people targeting me for conversation, clearly this close to getting into an argument with someone, just kind of looking for trouble almost. It felt like to me anyway. This was my nightmare. I'm trapped in a bus with these people. I don't know how I came up with this because it happened quicker than I could think. But I pretended to be deaf. As they started talking to me, I just ignored them completely. I was basically frozen and having a panic attack. And then they kind of started touching me like, hey, what are you doing? And then I looked like as if I had seen them for the first time kind of thing and started doing fake sign language. No shit. I just made up some signs trying to explain, I have no hearing. Anybody who's deaf or has, deaf people that they care about watching this really wasn't me trying to make fun of deaf people. It had nothing to do with that. This was a survival move on my part, and it was completely automatic. I don't know how I came up with it, but it kind of was brilliant because it completely de-escalated them. Unfortunately, it made them want to talk to me even more. So they started shouting now. In their drunken state, they thought somehow that would cure my deafness. And they were trying to like ask me about it and stuff. It's, oh, sorry, bro, sorry, and all this sort of stuff. I just got off at the next stop, which was about 250,000 kilometers away from where I wanted to get off. But I just had to get away from these people. And just from this roaring heat going through my body of just embarrassment, humiliation, not just from them, but from me pretending to be deaf and them like making such a big scene about it. And now the whole bus is pretending not to watch this. So I have like 30 people watching me pretend to be deaf. I convinced all of them from what I could tell. A lot of people don't realize that. People I knew in the past don't realize how good I was at acting. I'm not proud of it exactly because it was essentially a massive manipulation, but it fucking worked. I could really, maybe I should have gotten into acting because I could really sell what I was pretending to be. That was the only time I ever pretended to be deaf. I was really taking on a new role there. But I just wanted to demonstrate, firstly, for those of you who think maybe I've always been confident or assertive, no, I've been at the very other end of the spectrum. to the point where I'd pretend to be deaf rather than actually have a conversation with somebody who's slightly aggressive. Recently, a lot of client conversations I've had with coaching, we've started talking about all the weird little things we do because of social anxiety. It's in the tiny moves that you make. Like maybe you'll slightly shift the direction you're walking to avoid walking past a group or going in between people. Or maybe you'll wait extra long to allow someone else to move on before you take their place, and so on. If you watch yourself throughout the day, there'll be these little moves you make, little kind of things where you choose not to do what you really wanted to do and you do something else instead. You pretend in some way just to reduce the risk. You know, I had one client who finds it uncomfortable just to walk through, say, a food court in a shopping mall. If it doesn't look like he knows what he's doing, if he isn't buying food, he'd find it very uncomfortable. He'd think that everyone's judging him. And a lot of people are like this. They walk around thinking they're constantly being judged by everybody. You know, a great example is when you realize you're walking in the wrong direction. You don't just turn around and walk back the way you came because you think that would look like you're a crazy person. So you put on this big sort of performance before you turn around, like you look at your watch go, or you look at your phone and go, oh, okay, and turn around as if you've suddenly been, you know, rationally redirected rather than just sort of going, pivoting in 180 degrees like nothing happened. People constantly feel like they're being watched, constantly feel judged, and they're terrified of that judgment. They can't just be honest and do what they want to do. They hesitate, pause, shift direction. It seems very subtle, but it actually creates a whole life of lying, a life where you're really, whenever you're in a social situation, you're not really being you or doing what you really want or going for it. You're always holding back and navigating through all these potential risks. So I just wanted to share that story. I'd love to hear from you guys of the crazier times, the crazier reactions that you've had to socially anxious situations. What are the random performances you've seen yourself do, or just the bizarre behaviors you've done to avoid a little bit of discomfort that sound so strange when you talk about them and that you never share them with others? I wanted to just kind of break the ice on that. And pretending to be deaf isn't even the weirdest one I've done. I've got others. I pretended to be hypnotized once. I already did a video on that a while back. Let me know your stories. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, share it around to help us grow. And of course, if any of you want to talk about this kind of stuff further, you can email me, dan@brojo.org. I'll see you guys for the next random story next time. Cheers.